I've started recording, but I don't remember it myself. I'm sorry. But anyway, get it from now on. It is in C IVA Navipack DB, and then it's this one here, gensetup.db. This is where you find it. You choose open, and then got a revised, well, it's probably the same as before. It's even got datum shift, which is good. We don't have any ITF shift defined. Basically, you can say the datum shift is not used at all, because what are we using geodesy information for in this context? You can say that everything I have here in terms of position, you've seen that is in projected coordinates, that is in eastings and northings. So no reason to convert that into something. No reason to project, and no reason to perform any datum shift on it. And Navipack will not perform projection or datum shift to instruments unless they are outputting latitude, longitude. That could be a GGA string. I could add a new instrument here, and then you can see that there is a possibility to take an NMEA string here. If I had done that, please don't do this. I'm only doing it to show you how it can be done. Yeah, UDP local 678. I don't have anything, so basically I'll just show it to you. Everything you have down here, like this one here, which is a GGA string, will be the subject of a datum shift and a projection. Navipack will do it for you automatically. There are no settings to do that here. So basically, you don't have to worry about it. But that's not the case with us. So therefore, the only thing we need geodesy for, it's a very special thing, and that is to convert the true gyro readings into grid headings. Because we need the convergence, the meridian convergence, to be able to do that. That's also important, especially when we're doing multi-beam survey. I mean, the outer beams, a convergence of maybe 1-2 degrees can actually mean well, a few meters on outer beams, depending on your water depth and the opening angle you're using. So not so important, you can say, in this context, but still it is important in terms of getting the right gyro information. But the difference between Navipack and Naviscan in this context is that Naviscan doesn't require any geodesy, really, except for this conversion that we were talking about. If we go back to the IVA runtime control, I'm happy with my geodesy because as a consequence of this, of course, I don't need to do any ITRF shift. But the runtime control, I can choose to say, I want to use an Navipack geodesy. That means that and they are in compliance. The geodesy that we have defined under geodesy and what we're receiving from Navipack, because they come from Navipack. And this basically means that in post-processing, I can choose to say that I want to use the geodesy from the file, which can be an advantage. Okay, I will save my configuration now. And as you saw, this time I didn't get any warnings. I'm missing one thing now, and that is the multi-beam echo sounder. So that's the whole idea of using Naviscan in the first place. We do not have any multi-beam drivers in Navipack, so therefore we will have to use Naviscan for this. Everything else so far is just a repetition of what we did in Navipack. Simulation-wise, Navipack and Naviscan are very different. In Navipack, you just set an instrument to simulated I/O mode. You cannot do that in Naviscan. On the other hand, in Naviscan, you have some quite sophisticated simulators that you access from Tools, Simulator. This one here. And as you can see, there are many simulators, and actually, if you want to run different programs or different sensors, you have to open the simulator once for each of these programs you want to use. But in this case, I would like you to use this one here, MPE plus Artosonic 2000. I'm choosing that one because it simulates very well. Artosonic 2000, like this. An interval of 100 milliseconds, that means 10 scans per second. Apply. Port settings. Here we're using a UDP port, local IP, and port number 4000. Actually, the Artosonic are by default outputting the multibeam information on port 4000. I could have chosen any port I wanted. So I say OK to this. And then I press start. Here we have the binary data coming out. Don't close this window, because if you do, then the simulator will stop working. Just minimize it. And then we could say it's a little bit inconvenient. If you look down here, I have two identical icons. One is the Navipack simulator, and the other one is the Naviscan, in this case, Artosonic simulator. But as long as you're aware of it. So over here, click on naviscan.bin and choose equipment, add sensor. You cannot add a sensor when you don't have the headline here or the main node. This one is echo sounder. And as you can see, 67 different echo sounders. There's even one called outdated. I don't know why that's still there. Sonic 2000 series. You even see that it says UDP port 4000. Now, local 4000. This time we can connect. And we can see data is coming in. It's coming in from the simulator. So I'll close the port. I'll save my configuration. And we are ready to go online. There are some parameters here, but I trust that you can figure out how to set these up because that's dealt with in the e-learning module. And it's I mean, compared to NaviPack, these are quite simple items that you can specify, not so important, generally speaking. I mentioned to you that we can start Naviscan from the start menu, and that is of course Naviscan Online. Yeah, Naviscan Online. It's also possible to start it more directly from here. That's a shortcut that I think you should use once you get used to Naviscan, but this is training, so let's make it not too easy. What do I have down here? Something is, yeah, here. Naviscan Online, but please don't do it until you have saved your configuration. This is very important to do that because it will simply take the configuration settings from the naviscan.bin file. So if you haven't saved it, even though it looks correct, must save it because otherwise it's not available to Naviscan Online. Yeah. Naviscan Online will open like this. And you now have two possibilities. You can either start online, which is what we're going to do, or you can playback a file. Playback file is actually a functionality that's quite useful because it allows you to play back an SPD file and see what happened while you were acquiring data. But we want to start online. File, start online. Before we continue, for all of you, it's important that you see something that looks very similar to what you see I have here. Let me copy paste it so that we can see. This is extracts, main extracts from my configuration. I've just taken a copy of it and sent to you on Teams. You can say this is for information, but if you don't have this, then there's something wrong with your configuration. Got 4 UDP ports, jar motion, Bathian Doppler lock, and then I got some UDP ports, Iver online control, and then the 5 navigations, and finally the ultrasonic echo sounder on port 4000. So I open my instruments, my Naviscan, and I'm fully aware you don't have this. So by default, Naviscan doesn't have any windows. What you need to do is to open one by one the windows. I can close my windows, as a matter of fact. Let me do that. At least then you can see that there's nothing wrong with you. I got a toolbar to the right or a palette bar. I don't want to see that either. So the thing is, I cannot close. Yeah, I can also close this one here. So this might be the way your system looks. So you can choose now to say view. Start online. Why does it do that? Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. I had one window. I don't know what happens when I do it like this. Save changes to not logging.
Just for your knowledge, we have the window with the rates and latencies and so on when we launch it.
Oh, thanks, Stephen. That's good. It's also the most important of all these windows. So basically, you can see that I'm having green lights. You may not have green lights, but that's caused by some settings. Because if you right-click, then you can change the settings on this window here, and some of the settings are the latencies. For instance, on the navigation, you can see the latency limits. I've changed all the latency limits on navigation to 4 seconds. The unit is milliseconds, so 4,000 milliseconds. Once I've done that, then I don't get any warnings on my navigation because they're coming from Navipack and they could be up to 1-2 cycles old, so up to 2 seconds, as a matter of fact. So that's why I've set this to 4 milliseconds. But it's still important always to not just use the default values here, but to go and assess it and say what is logical. Because in support, we've had many issues where people are saying, I have green lights, or I don't have green lights, I have yellow lights. What is going wrong? And nothing is actually going wrong. It's just a matter of, this is the nature of the position coming from Navipack, for instance. It is old, up to 2 seconds. There's also something with the rate limits. So basically, it's can also be flashed yellow if the rate is beyond or below, sorry, a certain value. Anyway, in this window, you can also choose here to show at the top here, size and raw data for all sensors, as you can see here. Then I also get the raw data, which is making a lot of sense. Here, when we have ASCII data, binary may not be so good, but it's quite useful actually to be able to see that the data is coming in. Yeah, I have to be honest with you. I don't know what the difference is between raw data and incoming packets. Yeah, incoming packets. Yeah, raw data string limits. This is just for visualization. And I see a little bit more. So I close the window and then I will open, for instance, the profile view. This is also an important view. And as you can see, I don't see anything right now. So I can go to right-click View Settings. And then in the first tab here, I can choose to auto-scale. And I can also go to Data. Why is it not coming in? That's weird. Okay, I have to investigate on that. I don't see any data. Are you saying something?
Yeah, sorry. The data is around 135 meters with depths.
Yeah, no, but it should
on the auto
go
scale.
down to auto scale. It should go down automatically. Why doesn't it do that? Probably even further down, but
Yeah.
it doesn't want to do that. That's really weird.
In my case, this auto select option is selected in the axis. Probably
Yeah, but
that is.
I can see that it
And
does it now, but it didn't want initially to calculate this value. That's really weird. But anyway, it does now, which is great. This is exactly how I wanted it to look like. One of the things you could do is to go to data and then here, double click and then choose dots only. Remember yesterday, this is actually the same dialogue that you had yesterday on the USBL calibration, where we were looking at the depths. There, I told you to use line and dot. Here, only dot. In this case, it's not so important, but if you have noise, then these lines connecting will, at least to some limit, will jeopardize the view. So, to the extent that this is, I don't have any noise here, then that's not really a problem. So I can try to show you how it looks and I get a connection, but try to imagine if I have noise here and noise here, then that's not a good selection. If you look at Echo Sounder, Multi Echo Sounder, their own internal views, then they never have connection lines on them. So save these settings. Okay, and now what else can we see? We can open a, it's always nice to have a point cloud. Looking like this. In the point cloud, you can choose to auto center. You can also have a rainbow slider that will make it possible to change the colors. But auto center, then it will always stay in the middle here. A little bit noise, but that's caused by the noise that we have included in the simulator for the transponders. Another view could be gyro. It's not so interesting because it's just simulated. You can see I have my my raw data here, and that is accomplished simply by highlighting the window and then pressing the question mark at the top here. Toggle legend. I think I've done that for all these windows. You cannot have a legend on the point cloud, but you can have a legend on the ultrasonic here. Profile view. Let's open a motion. Quite often it makes good sense to have motion. I mean, roll and pitch together. So if you right click on it and choose view settings and go to data, and you can include the pitch. And as you can see, I've given them different colors. I could use dots. Blue, dots. And the same here, dots. Apply, okay, and save. And then you see I don't really see it because it's not the dots that become red, it's the line. And that's why I have chosen line here. And the same here, line. And of course, in a real scenario, these would be going up and down. Hopefully not too much. What else is there to see? The Betty, yeah, the Betty is giving us the height. And actually, if you go to view settings here, then you can see the data. The pressure is actually also there. Even though pressure is spelled incorrectly, it is there. Right.
Excuse me, Lars.
Yeah.
I tried to change the color for this pitch line, but it shows that it has changed, but not in the graph. I didn't get it why.
The pitch line. Have you included it over here?
Yes, I did it, and when I with double click, I open it and change the color to the red. But yes, like this, but it is not appearing in the graph. It is like in the graph, it is still
But
low.
that's why I told you have to use line here, because otherwise the dots will they're so close that you cannot. The dots will always be blue, and then they will overrule the color of.
Oh, okay.
So use
Yeah.
line.
Now it worked. Yes.
I think it's fine now, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Stephen, I'm not sure what you mean. These parameters. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. I just like feel like some graphs are kind of redundant between HMD and Naviscan, like for instance, the motion graphs or the gyro. So I was just wondering, what do you recommend? Should we like display it in Naviscan or in HMD, or depends on the setup of the survey? Yeah.
I would always put it in Naviscan as well, because you have to be sure that what you're actually receiving in Naviscan is identical to what you receive in Navipec.
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
think it's more important to have it in Naviscan than to have it in Navipec, as a matter of fact, when we talk about gyro and motion.
Okay.
Definitely.
Thanks.
Still a good question. And why is it a good question? It's a good question because you will actually, when we're post-processing the data that we are acquiring here, we will be using the SPD files. Let me see if I can find the flow diagram. See, we've got Navipack and Naviscan running together. Navipack is logging NPD files, and Naviscan is logging SPD files, and the SPD files are the ones we will be using in post-processing. We'll still be logging in Navipack, but that's, well, like a backup thing or plan B, so that we can see if something goes wrong, then it's always extremely useful to have everything available. You could also imagine that in Navipack you will be logging magnetometer data. And if you're doing that, then those are the files that you'll be post-processing in Naviedit. But in this particular case, it's the SPD files that would be processed in Naviedit. So therefore, it is more important to see this in Naviscan than it is to see it in Navipack, actually. Anyway, we need a setting here. We need to tell Naviscan where to log the data, because we need to be logging in a little while. This is done under options, logging. Use the browse button to find the location. And of course, this is our project folder here. Logging, NS. So that's what it should be. This is what I prepared for you, the NS folder. Again, file name prefix Julian day and append a Julian day folder. There is different, this is file naming. We can use different file naming conventions, and that's more or less up to you. But the Julian day folder, same as we have in Navipack, where we are separating the files or creating a new folder each day based on the Julian day of that particular day. Down here, file shift, automatic file length or time length, 20 minutes. This is exactly the same as we did in Naviscan or Navipack. And as I told you yesterday, in Navipack and Naviscan, I always set these parameters the same way in Navipack and Naviscan, so that we start and stop at the same time in Navipack and Naviscan. It's a lot easier to find files that are related in this way. 20 minutes is a good number with multi-beam data, because then the files will not become too large. Okay, to this, now I don't know if you've organized your windows. If you have, then you can choose Window, Save Window Setup, like this. Then they will open like this the next time around. Now we will go to the Helsense display. And as you can see, we're far away now already. So I use my follow toolbar, press the first button there, and then choose follow RV Kelman. See what happens. There we are. Follow RV Kelman. And everything looks as I was expecting. But now I need to link the Helsense display to Naviscan, because I want to see the multi-beam data here as well. If we go to the PowerPoint again, you can see that's this arrow here that I'm referring to. So you can either choose the online node here, right click and connect, or you can choose the connect button at the top. Here, connect. Now you see that I have an Navipack kernel that's already connected, but I need the Navi scan online, which is available on my local IP address 127.0.0.1, like this. So I connect, and now you see that I have my scans here, like this. You also see that we're not sailing very fast. Maybe we should increase the speed a little bit. I think I did. I used this speed so that we wouldn't progress too far until looks nice. It's even though we've got a pipe here, as you can see on this data. If we go to the project tree, the online main node here, you can see that I am connected to Naviscan, or rather, I'm connected to the output from Naviscan. This output is generated automatically, as you can see. I got a lot of different items here. Important one, of course, is the echo sounder. If you highlight that, then you can go down here and say, for instance, this is not really important, but it looks really nice. The bottom item here, draw echoes. Set that to true. Look at this, then you see your echoes here. See how they're progressing, hitting the bottom. It's really nice to see how long it takes for the outer beams, because they have to go all this way out and back, and it's not ready to retransmit or start transmitting until the last beam is connected or collected, has been received. But this is just a gimmick. Let's face it, it's not something that is really important. What is important is to create. You can see that these are just scans. I don't have a terrain model right now. These are just scans. You can see that they're disappearing here. New ones are coming, but the old ones are disappearing. There is something called a beam cache, and that's simply how many beams are we going to show until we start removing them. Yeah, see, now it doesn't remove them, it just adds new ones until we have reached this limit. But it's still just visualization stuff. What we want to do is to create an online terrain model. You can do that by right-clicking on the echo sounder node here and then choosing Build Online DTM. And there's a few things here that you can say this is a little bit premature because we haven't talked about terrain models yet. This is deliberate from my side because I don't want to be a little premature on this. We will be talking about it a lot once we start talking about Navi model. That's already after the coffee break. We will do that. But basically, you can say that the terrain model will be created in the project folder. That is the toppings folder. We will give it a name. I will call this one online DTM. Cell size of 50 centimeters is fine for this kind of data, but basically we could use a smaller cell size if we wanted to. Navi model or the HealthSense display can easily handle it. Under options, you can see that it's possible to create different surface types. You can do that online. I normally never do that when I have an online DTM because I don't think that is really so relevant. You can also read intensity. This is side scan intensity. Basically, we haven't defined that in this multibeam echo sounder at the moment, so we're not going to do that. But basically, don't include any of these items. Don't apply any cleaning or anything like that. Just use default, except skip intensity. Now we say OK to this setting, and then see, it takes a little while. Then we have started creating the online terrain model here. And you can see underneath the scans, I can even do like this. I'm not seeing the echo sounder now, and then what I'm seeing is my online terrain model. And that, of course, will stay there, even when the scans are disappearing. Let's see what happens if I want to start logging. The same applies that we saw yesterday. RV Kalman, start line. Surveying. I can't see the run line, but you can see up here that it has become green, and that's the run line that's associated with the RV. If I go into 2D, then you can see that it's actually there. My tick marks, 3 tick marks are there. I am logging in Navipack, and if I open the Naviscan window, you can see here in the caption that I'm also logging. So single click here will start logging in Navipack and Naviscan simultaneously, and I will end it from here. There's one thing I actually forgot to tell you yesterday when we were talking about logging of data. I don't know if you've wondered about it, but you will see that I don't have any spaces in my project name. Logging. It's not so, there are no spaces here. It's not important for Naviscan, but Navipack can only handle logging if there are no spaces in the entire path. The full path, there must be no spaces. I don't know if you can see Navipack. This program is actually pretty old, and that's the reason. It's from those days when you weren't allowed spaces in paths, folder paths or folder names. So don't do that. I've done the same for Naviscan for that matter. This is the first SPD file that we created. It's not updated yet, but you can see here, this is Julian day 153, and the running number starts with 0, 0, 0, 0, and then extension SPD. Navipack, data from yesterday, data from today. So this is the data we're logging at the moment. This is the custom log file, the general log file, and the survey log file. If we look at the data from yesterday, you see we've got quite a lot here, and they become pretty big. I can open a survey log file. This is a little bit Navipack again. On my computer, this is defaults to Notepad. And there you go. This is how a survey log file looks. The first lines here starting with H. That's the header information that Navigated understands straight away. Nodes that start with a P, position nodes, gyro, attitude, data acquisition, and so on and so forth. But you guys have done the e-learning, but you can also say that if you go to help here, logging formats, and there is a document that describes this into the smallest of details. And if you want to see it in something that's a little bit easier to read, then go to the documentation side. Yeah, software Navipack, Navipack 4, the logging utility, and you have this PDF file that actually is identical to what you saw before, but it describes the different formats. We've got the general format here and the survey format with header information, etc. I'm not saying that you should be able to interpret a this kind of a survey file, but it's quite nice anyway to be able to see what it contains. If we just briefly have a look at the header format, or the G format, let's see the difference. The G file starts with a lot of information about the configuration. See, even geodesy is specified here. Instruments. And then actually there's a copy of the SData header here as well. Once we finish with that, then we get these are raw data strings, as you can see. No, sorry, this is the identical to the survey data, and down here we have the raw data strings. Remember 44, ID 44, that was GPS1 NMEA, so, and then that's repeated again here, R44, raw 44, coming in at this particular time, and here is the raw data string. And the raw data string, of course, has UTC time, but the time here is my local time here in Denmark. Back to the logging of data here. See how it's progressing. Basically, it is looking good. I think we've lost ELB26. Can't see him here. I don't know if he's got a problem with his internet connection. Yeah. Guys, that was what I was hoping we could make before the break, because we're going to have a break soon. So let me hear if you have any questions before we, because after the break we will continue with the post-processing part, the second half of the training. You can certainly see that in theory, everything can be controlled from the HealthSense display. I'm not saying that I'm recommending this. What I'm recommending is that you have a window that shows you all the Navipack online windows, another window that shows a monitor that shows the HealthSense display, and a third monitor that is showing you Naviscan. This would be the ideal scenario, then you could keep an eye on everything that's going on. I mean, the rates here are so important, and the latencies as well.
Excuse me, Lars. I have a small question.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed it. Like, how did you show this triangle? That how can we see this beam? On my window, I cannot see it. One thing, and
Yeah. Remember, I told you it's a gimmick. But anyway, echo sounder here. Highlight echo sounder, and then you just go to. Let me see if I can find it. The very bottom here, so it says draw echoes.
oh, okay.
You just set that to true.
Yes, that works.
Yeah, but I'm sure that once you get out there, your boss will really like this. This is a thing for the bosses, isn't it? Doesn't have any real value, but looks nice.
Beside it, like it is really good for learning purposes, like how the beams are moving along.
Yeah. It is true because it's really when I saw this the first time, I was really surprised. It takes a hell of a long time before the outer beams come in. Yeah. True.
I have another question beside it. Like in the morning, you show that you have some kind of book, this like hydrographic surveys. For I could not find it in the Google. If you could send us the link,
Oh,
that would be really nice. Like,
there are two people that have asked me that question over the years.
okay.
Sorry about that. I laughed the first time. I'm going to laugh this time as well. It's only the front page. You know, you can have a feature in, well, I actually this was an online feature whereby you can create a front page. I only did the front page.
So there is no book.
No, I'm sorry about that. There
Oh,
is
yeah,
no
okay,
book.
okay, I got it. Actually, I
I think,
thought, and then I searched on the Google, like in the Amazon somewhere, I could not find it. I thought that it's better to ask from you.
yeah. No. The book is really the e-learning modules. That's what I would refer to instead. So do the e-learning, but it would be nice to have this book, wouldn't it? But it doesn't exist in reality. I only did the front page.
Should be.
Yeah. I know you're disappointed now, but that's unfortunate. That's how it is. Okay, guys, I'll leave this one running and then we'll have a break and come back after the break. And please remind me to start recording. I'm stopping recording now. Please remind me to